Okay, we're starting chapter 3, 3.1. Arjunavacha jayasi cheta karmanaste matamuddhirjanardana tatkim karmani gore mam niyojesi Keshava. Arjuna said, "Oh Janardana, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work?" Okay, so here fruitive work means karma, intelligence means gnana or buddhi. Okay. Purport. Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna has very elaborately described the constitution of the soul in the previous chapter with a view to delivering his intimate friend Arjuna from the ocean of material grief. So if we understand the constitution of the soul, that means that we are not body, we are spirit soul, then ideally we should be delivered from the ocean of material grief. That means that we should not actually have any material grief. If we have understood that and kind of realized that, and the path of realization has been recommended as Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such understanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of the Lord in a secluded place. So this training in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is the reason why we are reading these purports. How do we get trained? Both by reading and understanding and by associating with devotees and practicing it. Unfortunately, in this Corona times, we are practically literally not able to meet personally. But first, knowledge has to be gained and then it has to be practiced. Where one may acquire only cheap adoration from the innocent public if one goes to a secluded place. Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness as Buddhi Yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity in a secluded place. So this is what his idea was. He was thinking, oh, this is like retirement. Stop all work, gnanis, right? And basically just go to a secluded place and practice penance, austerity, then mental speculation. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting, using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In answer, Lord Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga or work in Krishna consciousness. So this chapter is Karma Yoga or working in Krishna consciousness. So by reading this chapter, we will understand how to work. So mainly for grihasthas who are engaged in karma. Okay. 3.2. Vyamishreneva vakyena buddhimohe sivame tadekam vadanishchitya yenashcheyoham apnuyam. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Equivocal means sounding same or equal. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. So Prabhupada is explaining why Arjuna thought that Krishna had given him equivocal instructions. In the previous chapter, as a prelude to the Bhagavad Gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruitive desire, and position of the neophyte. This was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjuna therefore wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness, either by inertia or by active service. So he was unclear because Krishna uses the word Buddhi Yoga, and then he glorifies Bhakti Yoga, and then he also talks about karma yoga, nishkama karma. So he is confused. He's not very sure. He did not understand it fully. He was thinking that it is one or the other, and he was contemplating between inertia and active service. Because when he thought buddhi means just using intelligence and not doing any work. In other words, by his questions, he's clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery. So just that word buddhi yoga confused Arjuna. And Krishna had, I mean, while he initially concluded that bhakti yoga has to be followed, but it was not very clear for Arjuna. So he is clarifying so that others also can get clarity. 3.3 Shri Bhagavanuvacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishta Pura Prokta Maya Anaga Nana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation and others by devotional service. So here Prabhupada has translated Karma Yogena as devotional service. And Gnana Yoga is empirical philosophical speculation. So this whole chapter is about working in devotional service. So it's all here Karma Yoga is also referred to as devotional service. In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained two kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. See, Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. In this word, the Lord clearly explains the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of the spirit and matter, is the subject matter for persons who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. This is Gnani. So Sankhya Yoga is for Gnanis. This is what Gnanis do, speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. They don't believe in any Aroha Pantha. The other class of men work in Krishna consciousness, as it is explained in the 61st verse of the second chapter. What is the 61st verse of the second chapter? तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्तासीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्य इन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. So here other classes may work in Krishna consciousness. The Lord has explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principles of Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can be relieved from the bonds of action. And furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. The same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse. That is, that this Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme. So here in this verse it says, "With fix your consciousness upon me." So Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. So there are multiple aspects that Prabhupada is explaining here. One is, so it is Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Okay, Sankhya is for Gnanis. As explained in 61st verse, other class of men work in Krishna consciousness. They work in Krishna consciousness how? By depending entirely on the Supreme. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under control. So it's not that they are not using their senses for doing stuff. They're using them, but they are depending entirely on the Supreme. Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent as religion and philosophy. They are both the yogas. That means Sankhya Yoga and Buddhi Yoga. They are interdependent. Religion without philosophy is sentiment. So here philosophy is referred to, Sankhya Yoga is referred to philosophy. So if religion without philosophy is sentiment or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. So both Sankhya and Buddhi are required that way. Sankhya for us is knowledge about analytical study of this matter and spirit, basically. The ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers who are also sincerely searching after the absolute truth come in the end to Krishna consciousness, is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the super self. So in the second chapter, there is only mostly position of the self and some introductory information about what is the relationship with super self. But the whole process of yoga is to understand this relation and live by it. The indirect process is philosophical speculation, by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. And the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna consciousness. So Buddhi Yoga is direct connection. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. This is important. So there is no pre-qualification for starting Bhakti Yoga, right? But in the Gnana process, they have to be purified. Only then they will be accepted. Like one cannot become like brahmachari, sannyasi, unless they are like, they have purified their senses. But in Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, there is no prerequisite. Anybody can come in, and by the process itself is purifying. Krishna consciousness itself the purifying process. And by the direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime. Susukam kartum avyayam. So Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it doesn't require there's no prerequisite. One can just start Krishna consciousness, and then because the process itself is purifying, he can make progress. So that is why Bhakti Yoga is more superior to other paths, because all other paths are dependent on Bhakti, but Bhakti is not dependent on anything. Bhakti is independent. So basically, just to summarize, so Krishna said that, like he's saying that there are Gnana Yoga, there's Gnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga. So in the next verse he says which is better, but if Prabhupada in this purport is already saying that Bhakti Yoga is better. Any questions so far? Okay, these are all introductory verses to this chapter.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So this interdependency, how philosophical speculation is dependent on?
Not philosophical speculation, philosophy.
Okay.
Prabhupada here is saying is Gnana Yoga is not necessarily meant for Sankhya. See, we discussed Sankhya in the second chapter. Sankhya is the philosophy to understand the nature of spirit and matter. Now it is required, because if you don't know that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, and if you are simply going to the temple, then it is sentiment. So this philosophy is required. The philosophy that what is matter, what is spirit, this philosophy is required.
Okay. Yes. And at the end, it's last but second line, it does not depend on purifying the senses by philosophical process.
Yeah, because so, in this Gnana process, they have to purify their senses by philosophy, which means that they should completely know the philosophy, then they should practice rules and regulations. I mean, it's not like anybody and everybody can go through the Gnana process. First of all, they should have given up all karma. By giving up karma, they have purified of all karma, material activities. So it's like a gradual process, right? That is why previously one who used to come to karma yoga, karma, then he has to come to Gnana. When will he come to Gnana? When he is fed up with karma, right? And he's purified himself from all material activities.
Okay.
Right. So the Gnana process is a very gradual process, and it is indirect, because it is gradually bringing you to the process of bhakti. Because what is the culmination of Gnana is Gnana Yoga or coming to bhakti. Both of them means connecting to the Supreme Lord, right? But before that, they have a lot of prerequisites to even enter that path.
Right. Okay.
But Krishna consciousness has no prerequisites.
Okay. So prerequisites is being mentioned here. Like next sentence proposes Krishna consciousness is also purifying process. Means both
is itself. No. process Krishna here. Gnana, Sankhya or Gnana Yoga is not the purifying process. You have to purify to take up Gnana Yoga. But Krishna consciousness itself purifies. So you don't have any prerequisite in Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
That okay?
Yes.
Okay, 3.4. Na karmana amanarambha naishkarmyam purushošnute na cha sanyasana deva siddhim samadhigacchati. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So merely abstaining from work, that means that I have work to do, but I will not do it. By doing that, we will not get freedom from reaction. Or we say, okay, I will give up my. So this abstaining from work means I am in a particular varna, ashrama, and I have certain duties, but I'm abstaining from doing them. I'm not doing my duty, right? Thinking that by doing duty, I'm going to get karma. But by not doing duty, we are not becoming free from reaction, because that becomes inaction, which is also sinful, right? Or by renunciation alone, for example, I'll become a sannyasi. Just by becoming a sannyasi, I cannot attain perfection. So neither by not doing my work nor by accepting sannyas can I attain perfection. That means simply these activities will not give us perfection. Simply by abstaining from work will not achieve perfection, will not achieve freedom from reaction, or simply by renunciation will not attain perfection. So the renounced order of life can be accepted when one has been purified by the discharge of prescribed form of duties. This is what I said. Like once somebody has done karma, varnashrama, dharma, exhausted their requirement to do fruity work, then they come to, either they come to sannyas in the same life, or they, after many lifetimes, they come to sannyas whenever, right? These are laid down by to purify the hearts of materialistic men. So varnashrama lays down all these rules and regulations or duties, right? Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life, sannyas, right? So purification is required. According to the empirical philosopher, simply by adopting sannyas or retiring from fruity activities, one at once becomes as good as Narayana. So this is Mayavadis, right? You're Narayana, I am Narayana, everybody is Narayana. Just retire from work, become sannyas. Then take up sannyas and you become as good as Narayana. But Lord Krishna does not approve this principle. Without purification of heart, sannyasa is simply a disturbance of the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties, whatever he may be able to advance in the cause is accepted by the Lord. They're saying instead of just giving up all responsibilities and taking up sannyas, if one takes to the transcendental service of the Lord. So please understand, this sannyas is not referring to Vaishnav sannyas. This sannyas is referring to Gnana sannyas. Right? So here Prabhupada is saying, if someone takes the transcendental service of the Lord, so which means either he can be a grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa, as long as he takes the transcendental service, even without discharging his prescribed duties. What is that verse? त्यक्त्वा सदान्वं चरणाम्बुजं हरेर् भजन् अपक्वोत पटात् पठेत् ततो यदि यत्र क्वावा वज्रम् अभूदमुष्य किं कोवार्ताप्तो भजतां स्वधर्मतः. So even if we don't discharge our prescribed duties, but engage in transcendental service, whatever advancement he can is accepted. Might be able to do little advancement only, but that also Lord accepts. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. The slight performance of such a principle enables one to overcome great difficulties. So point here is not dry renunciation, not renunciation without service, without loving devotional service. And as long as one is engaged in loving devotional service, even if he doesn't do his prescribed duties, it is okay. See, here in the verse, Krishna is saying that if you simply abstain from work, but what is in bracket here, but if you're not rendering devotional service, then you cannot achieve freedom from reaction. because then abstaining from work becomes inaction. Inaction is sinful, so you will get reaction. Nor by renunciation, again in brackets, without devotional service alone can attain perfection. So this whole verse is saying without devotional service, these two things are not going to give results or will not be useful. But if you put devotional service in brackets, that means abstain from work but engage in devotional service, then you can achieve perfection. You do sannyas with devotional service, you can attain perfection. Because we should not read this and say, okay, sannyas is not accepted, not allowed. You can't just give up our duties, not like that. Is it clear? As long as devotional service is there, you can give up, or you can take up sannyas also, and you will achieve perfection, no problem. Is that okay? Clear?
Clear, Praji, clear.
3.5. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karma krit karyate hyavashak karma sarva prakriti jairgunai. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. This is very, very important. It is not a question of embodied life, but it is a nature of the soul to be always active without the presence. So what does this mean? Some might argue saying that, just because we are embodied, we have become active. Otherwise, soul is inert. Like Nirakara Brahman, becoming one with Nirakara in Brahmajyoti. Inert, no work for the soul. No, it is not just that we are in only when we are in conditioned life, it's not that we are active. We are by nature active as soul. Without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupations dictated by the illusory energy. So we understand that it is the spirit soul which is engaged in work, right? But later Krishna says spirit soul is not doing anything, which means that it is not literally doing anything, but it is desiring. So either the soul can desire to be in Krishna conscious, or it can desire to be in Maya consciousness. In contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes. So when we desire to be in touch with material energy, then we acquire material modes. And to purify the soul from such affinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastras. This is again for those who are not engaged in bhakti. They should be absolutely engaged in prescribed duties. See, those who are engaged in bhakti, they need not engage in prescribed duties, varnashrama. But if they follow, then it is an absolute plus. It will help them to make progress, rapid progress. But those who are not engaged in devotion service, they absolutely have to follow prescribed duties. Why? Because that will purify the soul from such affinities, meaning from the desire to be in contact with material energy, because the goal of Varnashrama is to actually Vishnu Aradhyate, is to become a devotee of Krishna. But it's a gradual process. But by steadily following that, one can actually purify his affinities, all these material affinities. But if the soul is engaged in his natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. This is what Prabhupada said in the last verse. He's explaining it further. And this is the verse I quoted. Tyaktva sadanam charnambujam harer bhajanna pakvota patet tato yadi yatra kvava bhadram abhudamushyakim khavartapto bhajatam sadharmataha. If someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow the prescribed duties in the Shastras or execute the devotional service also properly, not just not doing duties, but even if our devotional activities are not proper, and even though he may fall down from the standard, there is no loss or evil for him. But if he carries out all the injunctions for purification in the Shastras, but does it avail him? What does it avail him if he is not Krishna conscious? So simply following the injunctions of the Shastras is of no use if one is not Krishna conscious. So the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point. of Krishna consciousness. So basically, with this purification, ultimately one has to come to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there is no use. Therefore, sannyasa or any purificator process is to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. So this also has other implications. Prabhupada has not expanded in this purport, but see, we should, whenever we engage with people, we interact with people, we should note this. Like I am forced to act helplessly because of my modes, the other person is also forced to act helplessly. Sometimes what we think, we pity ourselves, we blame others. We pity ourselves saying that, oh, I am a devotee, and we blame others saying that, person is being bad, behaving badly towards me, is not understanding me, this, that, and all that. So many things we say, but we should understand, I am also being forced to act helplessly, that person is also being forced to act helplessly. Now, of course, I mean, if we are practicing bhakti and the other person is not practicing bhakti, then there is a big chance of so then not big chance, then he or she is absolutely helplessly engaged, which means that we should be more compassionate towards normal karmis who are not doing bhakti because they are forcefully engaged, because they are completely under the control of their modes, of the modes, right? And these modes cannot be changed. We say it is your nature. Nature means it cannot be changed. Only by bhakti can it be changed. Traigunya Vishaveda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. So when we are engaging with people who, especially family members, etc., who are not Krishna consciousness, please have compassion towards them. Don't become upset, right? Because they're acting for helplessly, right? And somehow we have to just continuously keep praying to Krishna, Nityanand Prabhu, Guru, Srila Prabhupada, that they can shower causeless mercy on this soul, causeless, right? Like today I was reading in our Kannada class, killing of Kalia. The all the Nagapatnis, they offer such beautiful prayers, and they are devotees, and Kalia is a demon, right? But they don't simply say, "Ha, this demon husband, let him go to hell." No, and they are praying, "Oh Krishna, you are so merciful. You stamped your, you put your lotus feet on this Kalia. What kind of good work has he done? Uh, no, but he's now on the verge of giving up his life. Please save him." Right? So because they understand, okay, this Kalia snake is venomous. It's full of its enviousness, right? Because it's taken its body. But Nagapatnis, though they had taken that body, they were devotees. So they were not, envious or angry or upset with, their husband. Very nice lessons actually to learn. While it requires a lot of tolerance for one to be able to deal with that situation, but if we can go through it, then we become like famous. Like famous meaning, like in history, so many great women are basically, they're glorified for their great chastity and great qualities. Like that, if we can engage in bhakti and understand that whoever we are dealing with, they are everywhere they're acting helplessly. So sad, we should feel, oh, so sorry for that person. He or she is not able to control. Uh, and of course, we have to keep trying, somehow bring them, give them prasadam, somehow help them associate with some devotees. Somehow we should try to keep giving them Agnata Sukruti. Maybe, they will help us in some way indirectly, when we are engaged in the service of the Lord somehow, right? So that, and keep praying, saying, yeah, this person doesn't look like he or she is destined to come to bhakti, but oh Lord, please give your causeless mercy. So we should understand, I mean, each and every moment, actually, this is a matter of, very deep introspection for devotees. Every moment we should be introspecting about how I am behaving, right? With whoever, with ourselves, how am I thinking, what thoughts are coming into my mind, with others, how am I dealing with them. We should always be introspective with the clear consciousness, saying that If that other person is not Krishna conscious, he or she is badly, helplessly stuck up in Maya. Very important. And because we are active, we can decide whether we want to be connected with Krishna or Maya. That is our choice. In every situation, situations come on us because it is our karma phala. So we don't have any control over that, or we can't prevent that. But when situations come, how we react to them, that is absolutely our free will. Either we can act Krishna conscious way, or we can have Maya conscious way. That is left to us, right? So this is a very important verse. Any questions, anybody? Okay.
Yes, thank you. In the end, like the Prabhupada says, like purificated process is necessary to come to the point of Krishna.
And that's what this purificatory process. So here they are saying that one carries out all the injunctions for purification in the Shastra. Now, why should one carry out injunction? So that he will finally come to this point of Krishna consciousness. If he follows all these injunctions but doesn't come to Krishna consciousness, what is the use? So
Right.
this statement Prabhupada is explaining. So you see, that is why Prabhupada's purpose not read independent. You should not just pluck this line out of context, because then you'll say, oh, purificator is necessary. And previous verse you will go and say, oh, he's saying purificatory process is not necessary because Krishna consciousness itself is purifying. But here you should understand that he is explaining this line. He's explaining this line. So means, so what? To this. So purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna. As in, it is in conjunction with this line.
Right.
That if there is any purification, it is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, what is the need? What is the use of that? And so he is concluding. Therefore, sannyasa is to help reach ultimate goal. So he's concluding that whole topic. Right? So if somebody is doing sannyasa, which is purification, right? Then it is for what? Only to help reach Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
So these three lines have to be read together. Okay. Is that okay?
Yes, Vijay, clear. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll stop here. We covered 5 verses. We can continue on Monday. Anything else anybody wants to discuss?